Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole giving you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. All right, you guys, we're about to get into it. We're about to have that Hollywood La La Land talk again. Okay. So today I saw this trailer for a new show. It's not really a new show, it's a reboot of the show Good Times. But instead of a live show, it's an animation. And I saw the trailer and I immediately didn't know what to say, but oh my gosh, what is going on? So I posted it on my community wall. But it really bothered me. And when things bother me and they keep tugging at me, I'm going to talk about it. So, the trailer for this new show, the reboot of Good Times, I'm going to actually play it, and it's fair use. Everybody and their mother is playing it on their channel. So I'm definitely going to play it right now. So fair use, YouTube, fair use. Hey, Joseph, what's up? So yeah, I'm going to play it, and then we're going to go from there, all right? Hope all is well, Joseph. Give me a second. So we are going to play this. All right, y'all.
I have important news.
Let me guess. The state called and they want to cut you a disability check for your face.
Hold up. You can get paid for that?
This is from a fool who stares at his orange juice every morning.
It says concentrate on the box. Who the dummy now?
Shit. Me for not wearing a condom. Woo! Shadows fall over my heart. It all started with my grandfather, James Evans. My job as the man of this house is to take care of this family no matter what. I just want to let you know I'm going to take good care of Gray. Gray, who is this I'm about to kill?
Juan, my boyfriend. Daddy, let him go.
Baby, you, she come with me.
Junior's repeating the 10th grade for the 3rd time.
Is there anything you can suggest to help him get to the drive-thru?
Can you do OnlyFans? Take off your shoes. Let me see what kind of feet you working with.
I'll take you to the dark side.
Dear Black Heavenly Father, Colored Redeemer, if you could just help us.
Son, it's for you.
New phone. Who this?
All black, everything.
At least they ain't got that drug dealing baby under my roof no more.
Man, my mouth ready for some milk right now.
Dalvin, why are you so breast obsessed? It's childish, man.
Bruh, I'm a baby. I can't get no more childish than that. In a nocturnal state of mind.
Your neighborhood is a real shithole. It's the system. They put the guns and drugs on the streets.
Underneath this black, black sky.
This is getting dangerous. I'm going to just sit back and let you put yourself in harm's way. I love you too very much.
Everything black.
The revolution would not be televised.
Come on, Rosa Parks. Can't you just enjoy this?
Black bird, black moon, black sky, black light, black everything black.
We're just as good as the Evans of old.
Isn't that just dynamite?
But the truth is, we're the Evans of new.
Bitch, you look like money.
Everything black.
What about the struggle?
We're black. It'll be here tomorrow.
Everything black. Black bird, black moon, black sky, black light, black everything black. Wait a minute. The baby, little baby, and baby baby.
Too many babies around this crib.
All right. So, this is what I saw, and I wanted your opinion on this earlier. There is a petition out to stop this actual show. My guess, it's not going to happen. It's going to play on April 12th, okay? Now, why is this? Hey, Princess Scorpio Moon. Why is this a big issue right now? Well, let me play again both sides and balance in the situation. This is not the first time that we have seen shows or movies that really focus on the stereotypes that they assume go on in urban communities, okay? So this is not the first time. So like, for example, there are shows that we absolutely love that constantly has stereotypes about things that went on in the Black community. Power, The Wire, Snowfall. These are some of the top 3 shows that we consider classics in the Black community. And yet, all of them show stereotypes on the good side and the bad side. They still show stereotypes. Now, I'm sure there's probably animation stereotypes too. I am older, so I know the Proud Family. There have definitely been some animations that cater to the Black community. But the one that I remember growing up, for example, I don't know if y'all remember Bebe's Kids, but Bebe's Kids was definitely an animation that I grew up on. It was a movie, okay? And if that wasn't a stereotype, I don't know what the hell was. Now, granted, we were laughing, but this is an actual movie about 3 kids. And this is based on Robin Harris. This was his actual skit or his comedy that he used to do before he passed. He actually had a show where he would dedicate to Bebe's Kids. And so once he passed, they actually did a cartoon movie on it. And when you really think about the stereotype, it is about 3 bad little kids from the hood who have a single mother who's not around, who likes to throw her kids on other people, and they pretty much terrorize this whole entire amusement park, okay? It was stereotypes after stereotypes when it came to this movie. The kids was rapping. You had the little boy, Pee Wee, the OG with the diaper on, and he had a deep voice. Tone Loc, the rapper actually did his voice. But the whole point is we have had these stereotypes for a very long time, okay? These stereotypes have existed since we were in movies and in television shows, even before that. So why is it a huge deal as to why this one is causing a big uproar? Well, I'll tell you why. This is why. We have, yes, thank you, Joseph. Also, Fat Albert, absolutely. We have the Jeffersons. We have Good Times. We have What's Happening. We have Sanford and Son, okay? Now, this man right here who recently passed, Norman Lear, this is an actual quote apparently from him. We had 2 African-American writers, Eric Monte and Michael Evans, on the show Good Times that knew Cabrini Green inside and out, and that's why we said it there. Well, here's the problem with that quote. Allegedly, apparently, he claims he created all of those shows that I just mentioned, but in reality, they have been saying for years it was these 2 Black men, Eric Monte and Mike Evans, who actually created Good Times, Sanford and Son, What's Happening, okay? So this is where the uproar is coming from. It's like putting salt in the wound, because we have had these type of shows out here before. Okay, so literally, and thank you. That's another good one too, Joseph. The PJs. I remember the PJs. Now that was still, I think I wasn't really watching it, but I remember the PJs. That was a Black cartoon about the ghetto as well. We have had those type of shows. The uproar is coming from the fact that we, people who know the story, there have been issues with the fact that these 2 men apparently wrote all of these hits that we still see on TV or syndicated or on Netflix and Hulu. We still see these shows and they don't get the credit for it. All right. So I am actually going to play. Oh, and let me also give you this background. Eric Monte, which in my opinion is like the big pioneer of all of this. Mike is a pioneer too, but Eric Monte, he is the writer of Cooley High. For you guys who don't know what Cooley High, if you haven't seen that movie, please watch it. Cooley High, he wrote it, okay? He is actually from Chicago. And so he wrote it. It became a big hit. And he apparently wrote all of these other shows, including Good Times and What's Happening. Apparently, What's Happening was a spinoff of Cooley High. So with that, I'm going to actually play this snippet where he actually talks about Norman Lear and what happened as far as how he got screwed over in the industry, okay? And shout out to Real Black 2. They actually posted this, so check this out and let me know if you guys can hear it.
The thing was, the Writers Guild only wanted to pay me minimums, okay? And What's Happening was based on Cooley High. So I should have got whatever I wanted for What's Happening. So ABC, Mike Eisner called me in and they wanted to do a series based on Cooley High. So I said, okay, but I don't want to go through what I went through at Norman Lear, the Tandem production. So I wanted to produce it under my own production company. And I'm not mad at him for taking the Jeffersons. He can have that. I want to produce under my own production company. I'll make buku money. So they said, okay, but you've never produced. So you need some line producers. So I said, okay. So they said, your agent, Bernie Weintraub, he represents these two line producers, Saul Turtletop and Bernie Ornstein. We want to use them. So I said, okay. So I wrote the script, the pilot script for What's Happening. Turned it in to ABC. They accepted it. Okay. When they set up the offices, it said toy production. And I was like, who the hell is toy production? Turtletop and Ornstein had gone out and formed a company with Bud York and Norman Lear's partner. ABC had signed to do the show with that company. And my agent, Bernie Weintraub, had negotiated the deal, all behind my back.
And these are the same Ornstein, Weintraub that did Sanford and Son.
Yes. So I went to the Writers Guild, and the Writers Guild was into, okay, we can get you minimums. Because I had proof that I created Good Times, I created George and Louisa Jefferson, that I created What's Happening.
Just by the sheer fact that you created those characters entitled you
to pay.
Even if you didn't work on the Jefferson series,
right,
the fact that you created those characters.
Right. Okay. So, but Norman Lear hadn't put my name on the credits at all, and I had proof. But the guild was into, we can get you minimum. And I felt I deserved more than minimums. So I filed a suit against ABC, CBS, Saul Turtletop, Bernie Ornstein, Bud York, Norman Lear, Bernie Weintraub. I filed a lawsuit against them. So that's what happened. So at the end, my lawyers that were representing me, Norman Lear came to me and he offered me $1 million for a settlement. And I said, for all those shows, no way. So the lawyers came to me and they said, look, take that money because you still have your suit against the networks and the others, but at least we'll get paid. So I said, okay. He offered me $1 million at one point at Good Times. So I said, okay. So when the papers came down, all the defendants were listed. So I said, I didn't agree to this. They said, either you take this or we're walking off the case. This was 1 week before the statute of limitations ran out. I went all over Los Angeles looking for lawyers to represent me. I had the evidence and everything, okay? No lawyer in that town would take my case. So about 3 days, and I didn't have the legal skills to go against Norman Lear and CBS's lawyer in court, even though I had the evidence, because you can lose a case on the technicality.
Right, okay. So this is the consequence of standing up for yourself.
And that was the consequence. And none of this.
The DVDs are still in circulation.
I know. The show is still Cosby too.
The actors don't make money either.
Yeah, I know.
It's just,
Yeah. Norman Lear is a racist, a hypocrite, a thief, and a liar. Okay. Now the LA Times wouldn't print that, but I'll state it emphatically that that's what he is. He's a racist, a hypocrite, he's a thief, and he's a liar.
All right, y'all. So did you guys hear that? Let me know if you heard everything he said. So in a nutshell, what he said was they wanted him to do a spinoff of Cooley High, and that became what's happening. And he created a deal that pretty much said, I want nothing to do with Norman Lear. He can have my show, The Jeffersons, which I was like, why did you do that? But again, when he had a creative mind, so he could always create shows, hence why he created so many shows. So pretty much he says, okay, look, he can have the Jeffersons, but I don't want anything to do with him. I'll create my own stuff with my own production company. They said, okay, fine. He said his own representative went behind his back and created a deal with the same people that Norman Lear was dealing with anyway. So it was really still a deal with Norman Lear and the producers from Norman Lear, the Jefferson, and everything else that was attached to Norman Lear. So pretty much he ended up working for them again anyways. And then so at that point, he went to the Writers Guild. The Writers Guild said that they can give him minimums for a show that he created. And minimums means that you get the bare minimum. And if you create a show, you damn sure shouldn't get the bare minimums. So he went to the Writers Guild. He didn't like what was going on. He ends up suing the networks, the producers, Norman Lear, his own representatives, which it sounds like to me, his own representatives was doing some sneaky, shady stuff, in my opinion. His own representatives told him when Norman Lear came to him and said, I'll give you $1 million. $1 million for all of those shows. Mind you, we're talking about Good Times, The Jeffersons, What's Happening, Sanford and Son. I'll give you $1 million. He said, no way. His own representatives, his own attorney said, take the deal. You still have the networks that you're going to be fighting, and you can get money from them and the other people that you sued. Well, when the time came that he needed to sign off, that $1 million had everybody on it. The networks, Norman Lear, so he could only get $1 million, even though they told him that million was just from Norman Lear alone. So they pretty much screwed him. He got $1 million versus probably what a Norman Lear got after all of these years, millions on top of millions. Okay, this is Eric Monte. So this is where the outrage is coming from, because here's the problem, and this is what I put in my thumbnail. They'll use your own people sometimes to screw you over. And why do I say that? And this is not even just about race, because again, like Eric Monte said, I don't know who his agent was, who his representatives were, but they were supposed to represent him. And based on what he's saying, they allegedly screwed him over. But at the same time, if you looked at that trailer, Steph Curry is on there with Norman Lear, and I think Seth MacFarlane, he's the guy, I think he's the creator of Family Guy. Steph Curry is literally a creator / producer on this show. Now, I don't know why he has his hands in this. I do know, though, at one point, I think his wife allegedly wanted to be an actress back in the day. I don't know if this is his way of kind of getting into the Hollywood world. Now, the actual showrunner, her name is Renata. She, I believe, is a Black woman. I don't really know her from previous things, but she's a showrunner. And apparently there's another guy who was on the Boondocks who was also on this show as well. Now, as Black people in this industry, people should know who the hell Eric Monte is. I feel like any industry that you're in, you should know the people who came before you, your legends, whether they are respected in the mainstream world or not. I feel like that is very important. Eric Monte, even though he is alleging those shows were taken from him, we all know he wrote Cooley High, which is a classic when it comes to Black films. So you have these people who look like me, who look like Eric Monte, who are behind this new reboot. And based on what this woman says, her name is Carlina Evans. She is Mike Evans, this gentleman that I actually showed you here, right here with the fro. She is Mike Evans' daughter. He has passed. She actually went on a show and said that not only is Mike Evans' family and Eric Monte, they're not a part of this new reboot. Not only that, but technically she's saying that they own the IP to Good Times. So what does that mean? She said Sony actually owns Good Times, the show. They, however, own the IP to Good Times, meaning that if there is any reboot, if I believe there's any merchandise, anything like that, they have to get approval. Okay? They have to give approval and they have to get paid. So based on her interview, she said, and I wish I could play the interview, but you know how it is with certain people in their own, interviews. I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm just going to give you guys a rundown of what she actually said. She said that she found out about this animation back in 2020, but when I guess the attorneys reached out to Sony about what's going on, we're hearing that there's going to be an animation or reboot of Good Times. They apparently denied it. They said it wasn't true. Okay. And now next thing you know, here we are in 2024 and it's coming out and it's completely giving every single stereotype that you can imagine. Now, while Good Times could be considered a stereotype, there was still layers and a strong foundation that was dedicated to Black family in Good Times. That's what made Good Times such a good show. And not to mention back then, we really didn't see that many people who were African American in lead characters on a very popular show. We just didn't see that back then. So that's also what made Good Times popular. But she said that they have nothing to do with this show. They have not been paid for this show. And she is hoping that they don't air the show. And she pretty much implies that if they do air the show, they're going to have to, I'm assuming what she means is handle business legally, because they're not supposed to do that. Now, she also kind of implies that maybe they didn't want to reach out because they know if they would have saw this product, they wouldn't agree with what they're doing for this show. If you look at Good Times, the original Good Times compared to the trailer that I just showed, totally different shows, giving you every stereotype. You got a baby who's a dealer. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of things that I guess they think is funny, but for a lot of people, including myself, I did not know how to process what the hell I was watching. Okay, so that's what she said. She said they are not agreeing at all whatsoever to this show. Had nothing to do with it. Joseph, I don't think it was the Jeffersons. I want to, maybe it was the Jefferson or what's happening. He was on one of those shows. He was on one of those shows where he played on the show, but he actually wrote on the shows as well. He created some of these shows. So yeah, so this is where the real outrage is coming from. Now, that's for people who know. I'm going to assume some people really don't know and they're just seeing the stereotypes. But the problem is, you guys, we have had these stereotypes before. There are shows that are really, really popular that have stereotypes. My whole thing is, if you're going to have certain stereotypes, just make sure that these characters are not one-dimensional. Like, you have layers to these characters. But the reality is, a lot of these shows that give us stereotypes, these are popular shows for us. That is the thing. This show is getting the issues and the drama and the backlash because, again, it's putting salt in the wound for Eric Monte and a Mike Evans and their family, who pretty much got robbed of millions on top of millions of dollars. So then you end up doing a reboot and you have people who look like you who are actually helping create the show. And then you have people like you who are not only acting and doing voiceovers, but they're actually taking the time out to defend the show, like Yvette Nicole Brown. And I love her. But the reality is, she is going hard for this show more than the showrunner. I looked up Renata thinking that maybe I was going to see that she's defending the show and she's possibly saying something about the show that she's the showrunner on. I'm thinking that even a Steph Curry would also say something. I haven't seen anything about them saying anything, and they are the producers of the show. But you have Yvette, and I get it. She's an actor. She's trying to protect her bag. And furthermore, remember, there was just a strike. So you got a lot of people who are probably like, I just need to pay my bills. Okay, but literally here, we have people talking to her, and she's saying, her character on Good Times is fierce, loving, God-fearing mother doing her best to raise her kids. Mind you, I want to say her character is stripping, if I'm not mistaken. I could have sworn that that's one thing that I did read, but don't quote me on that. She says she fights for what's right against the system. And, she's pretty much, for the good of her community, blah, 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 blah. So then at this point, someone says, I love the Cosby Show every season. I just thought the show was off. I preferred Sanford and Son over Good Times, but this reboot is beyond trash. And she goes to say, so you've seen our Good Times. Cool. Which one of our 10 24-minute episodes made you realize it was trash? What plot point was it? What message or point did we try to make that didn't land as you watched the show? You're the authority. Please share with the class, Doc. So, of course, she's being snarky in this situation. But again, she is going hard as a cast member, but these producers are not saying a damn thing. And this is what I'm saying about how you have someone who literally, I'm sure she is aware. I am sure she's aware of Eric Monte and Mike Evans. I'm sure she's aware of this story. I don't think she cares, or maybe she doesn't understand the bigger picture of what a lot of people are saying, or maybe she just doesn't care. It's money for her. It's a job. It's a career, but she's going in. And then, of course, you have people who are saying, I enjoy you owning each and every one of these folks, because of course, you're always going to have people who are always going to make it seem like, everything that a celebrity does is right, and they're yes people. And so she says, Our Good Times is an adult show set in an exaggerated animated landscape for the purpose of highlighting real issues plaguing our communities. There are lessons, laughs, and shocking imagery, all on purpose. We're cooking. If it's not your kind of meal, don't eat. Well, to a certain extent, she has a point, but here's the problem. Netflix is real quick to cancel shows. So to say for an actual season or episode to not even be out yet, if you don't like it, don't eat, you may be turning a lot of people off to where you may only have one season of this show, if they let you finish the season. But at the end of the day, we've had shows like the Boondocks. And the problem is the trailer is supposed to highlight what you're going to be dealing with on the show, what you're going to be seeing on the show. I remember the Boondocks, if I'm not mistaken, their small little trailer for their first season, I think it was literally Riley. Riley was the look, I can't even remember. Riley, I think, was the pro-Black proactive one. It was literally him standing up to a podium saying Jesus was Black, Ronald Reagan, like he literally said 3 things that gave shock value about how pro-Black he was. And then that was the end of the trailer. So you got a sense of what this show was going to be about, the Boondocks. That's what the trailer is for. This trailer does not give anything that shows proactive, pro-Black, saving the community. You see a lot of stereotypes when it comes to violence and literally the baby being involved in the violence, and he's not even out of diapers. So that's the problem, on top of the fact that the people who created Good Times, they didn't get paid for the 70s version, and they're not getting paid for the 2024 version. Now that is a slap in the face. And in my opinion, if your own producers, Yvette, can't defend their own show, why are you defending it? Let them take the fall. This is their show. So I find it interesting that she's fighting this. What are you saying, Joseph? The Boondocks purposely but hilariously broke the fourth wall and was too intelligent of a show, which is why people loved it so much, in my opinion. Exactly. But the thing is that the trailer gave that from the beginning. We knew we was dealing with something different with the Boondocks when we saw that trailer. With this trailer, we're like, really? Like, you're really like, where in here is there showing something that we can hold on to that's going to say this is truly about protecting the Black community? But they're pretty much, she's saying it's showing the real issues that are plaguing our communities. So I don't know if they're trying to do almost a satire of it, you know, that type of mentality to laugh to keep from crying. I don't know. But what I do know is it gives me Hollywood Shuffle. And I don't know if you guys have watched Hollywood Shuffle. I would highly recommend it. It's a satire. I believe this was Robert Townsend's first movie that he did. And it's a satire on the stereotypes of African-American actors and actresses and what they go through in Hollywood. That's what it was giving me. But the difference is Hollywood Shuffle. Okay, thank you. It was Huey. I forgot Huey, which of course was a dedication probably to Huey P. Newton, was the pro-Black one. Riley was the wannabe gangster. Thank you. Huey was the one who went up to the podium, and that's when you knew that this was going to be a whole different type of animation when it came to the Boondocks. And it was a nice balance because you saw the stereotypes, but you also saw someone like Huey checking it, saying that this is wrong. But yes, Hollywood Shuffle is a satire about the stereotypes that people go through in Hollywood, which is why I said, okay, is this Good Times reboot Hollywood Shuffle 2.0? Like, what is this supposed to do for the community? And they're saying it's for adults, but here's the problem. It's an animation. So a lot of times these kids are going to try to watch the show. Now, I don't know if it's going to be rated R, where maybe if like in the kids section, they won't be able to get access to it. I know that Boondocks was on Adult Swim, so it didn't come on until I think around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. But I'm concerned for the kids watching it. I really am. I'm really concerned on them watching this and automatically assuming because it's a cartoon, it's something that they can watch. So the whole bottom line is, where the hell is Eric Monte and Mike Evans' money? That's what it all boils down to. And again, here's the problem. I wonder if them having the IP, if their attorney can make sure that the show doesn't happen. I don't know at this point if they can do that. If anything, they may be able to get money off of the show, but I don't know if they're going to be able to shut this show down. And this is a bigger problem than the stereotypes that we're seeing. The problem is we have a lot of creatives, especially Black creatives, that are constantly getting screwed over. And I've talked about this time and time again. They're getting screwed over. And literally, this just shows you how powerful it is for ownership and being able to own your stuff. Because again, heck, Eric Monte and Mike Evans just gotten 20% of all the things that they created in the 70s, we wouldn't be here today because they would have more control, of course, of everything that's being shown when it comes to their shows, and they would be getting a check for every time that show is aired somewhere. But I don't think that's the case. So I'm curious to see, and I'm going to follow up on this and see legally what they can do, because she did say, Carlina Evans did say that Sony owns the Good Time show, but they own the IP. The family owns the IP. So for those who may understand IP versus Sony owning the show, I'm curious to see what they can actually do legally, the family, what they can do legally to either stop this or the very least get paid for it. Because she said not only were they not told, even though they lied to them allegedly in 2020, saying that this show, there is no show coming out like this. They didn't know about the show. They're not getting paid from the show. Let me see what it says. Probably going to be rated TVMA for adults, but that never stopped kids from watching cartoon shows like that. Do you know how many kids love South Park? Exactly, Joseph. Exactly. You know, exactly my point. So you have so many kids watching South Park, so many kids watching those type of shows that are really inappropriate. So, you know, again, when they use your own people to screw you over, because this is really kind of what it looks like. And I don't know, like, I feel like when it comes to business and the money game, people don't have a moral compass. And for me, I wouldn't be able to attach my name to this knowing these two Black men who have claimed for over 50 years they got screwed over. Which, interesting enough, if I'm not mistaken, Good Times came out in 1974, and here we are in 2024. You think that was done by accident? Yeah, I don't think so. So what do you guys think about this situation? I think, honestly, for those who really know the story, this really is just putting salt in the wound. As I said before, that these brothers did not get their money. They did not get their just due. They don't have, ownership of these shows that they created. And again, this industry, you're not going to get 100% ownership of things you create. But when you think about all the money that was made, especially back then, because like I told you guys before, streaming has kind of stopped the money that used to be made in television. Because back then, you only had certain broadcast shows and you had syndication. You had shows that were constantly on repeat, and every time that show came on, you would get paid. Well, back then, TV was gold. The 70s and 80s and the 90s, you got on a hit TV show, it was gold. So when you really think about it, these two men did lose millions on top of millions of dollars. And the fact that Norman Lear's name is on there as a creator of this show with Steph Curry, and then you have a Black woman showrunner. Oh, man. Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like, I just can't imagine how these families feel, the Evans family and the Monte family, how they feel about this. Now, there is a petition that's out there that people can sign. Is the petition going to change anything? I don't know, y'all, because at the end of the day, controversy does sell. Now, if everybody joins together and doesn't watch it, then maybe. But the reality is, we all know a lot of people who talk a good game in public, but low key, they're going to support the show. That's probably going to be a lot of people. It's probably going to be a lot of people. The trailer to me is trash. Sorry, it is. It's just trash. There was nothing I could hold on to say I can relate or I like this character. Nothing. It just seemed like it was every line that they had in the trailer was just a stereotype, thinking that automatically saying certain things as far as what is relatable to the Black community was going to just automatically make people laugh. And there's just certain things within our community that we know happens in our community that we should really just keep amongst each other. It doesn't really have to be in a TV show, exaggerated for what? So it's coming out, not even 2 weeks from now. It will be out soon. I don't think, especially with Netflix is their own separate, thing. Like, it's not like Paramount or one of, ABC or someone like that owns them. They can kind of do their own thing. I think the show is going to come out. I really do. Now, is it going to last after the first season? Who knows? But again, when you got your own people who's willing to continue on because they see it as business and they don't see the bigger picture, that if they're willing to screw Eric Monte and Mike Evans over, who's to say that they won't screw you over? I think people need to look at the bigger picture in that way and not just see it as a check or entertainment. But with that being said, you guys, that's my take on this situation. I would love to hear your thoughts for those. Replay gang, let me know what you think about it. Are you going to watch the show? And honestly, tell me the truth. If you're going to watch the show, do you just see this as entertainment? What do you feel about Eric Monte's story and Mike Evans and his daughter? Because Mike Evans, I believe, has passed. So at this point, his legacy, his daughter is speaking for him. What do you guys think about what they're saying in regards to this and how they had no input and no approval on this show? So, and again, we're dealing with an industry. Sony probably has a whole entire, probably several legal teams all over the world. So I'm sure there's probably something in their contract or something that they use to try to push this forward without going to the families. But honestly, I am hoping that the family gets justice. I hear too many stories, like, for example, Nikki Gilbert in P-Valley. I told you guys about that show before. She's a legend that they actually stole P-Valley from her. And she has a video that shows proof, like back-to-back footage and proof of how they stole certain things from her. But she's going up against stars. She's going up against this big corporation. And they try to shut her down. So it's one of those things where it's to fight for yourself or to stand up for yourself. And I said this on Quiet on the Set, to fight for yourself or to stand up for yourself is to almost be invincible and you're done. And it's crazy because, we're supposed to be about justice and fighting for your rights. And clearly doing that means that you get dismissed and never heard from again. Let me see what you're saying, Joseph. I might pop in to see if I like the show since I got Netflix, so I'll let you know. I actually was not going to do this live because I said, Chris, wait until the show, at least watch the first episode, because I typically don't like to assume just based off of trailers. We know even with reality shows, we'll see a trailer and think the season is going to be good and it ends up being garbage. So I said I was going to wait. I was going to wait and talk about it once I saw at least the first episode. But this was really tugging at me. And it was tugging at me strictly because of Eric Monte and Mike Evans. Eric Monte allegedly at one point was homeless. This man who created Good Times, What's Happening, Cooley High, The Jefferson, Sanford and Son, at one point was homeless, living on the streets. That I have an issue with that. I do not like people who take people's creative property, their IP. It to me is just the worst thing in the world because it takes a lot to be original and to be creative. And for people to just be able to swindle you and take your stuff like that, it tugs at me. So it's really bothering me that yet again, Eric Monte, who is still alive, I'm sure this is just replaying in his mind what he went through in the 70s. You know, this is insane, and we got to find a way to protect people and make sure they can keep their property, their creativity, their ownership in some kind of way. And that's whether they're black, Asian, white. The guy who created Squid Games, he got screwed over too. He created Squid Games, and I don't know if it was out of desperation or someone just gave him a bad deal, but Squid Games almost made Netflix almost $1 billion allegedly. And they said he didn't get hell. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even think that man got 10 million. I don't even think he got 10, or he exactly got 10 million. But out of almost $1 billion, and you created the show, that's all you get. And for some people, they may say, hell, I'll never see $10 million in my life. Okay, yeah. But at the same time, if you created something that made someone $1 billion and you only get 10 million or less, that's a ripoff. I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, well, Joseph, if you're gonna watch it, by all means, please let me know. And I may try to look and see what it's about. And that would strictly be for research purposes. But knowing me and how I am after watching that trailer and just knowing that the family doesn't have anything to do with it, unless we hear that it gets resolved and the family is able to work things out legally and get their money off of it, then, you know, I probably won't watch it. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. I probably won't. Just for morals and integrity, I just won't be able to watch it. And I don't even think the family wants to attach their name to it, because Carlina said that she has turned down things before because she just didn't want her father's legacy and the family's legacy attached to nonsense. And she's disappointed in what she's seen in this trailer. So they may not want their names attached to it. But I just hope at least they get their coin. I mean, because at the end of the day, if you own the IP, make your money. But with that being said, you guys, please let me know what you guys think about this live, about the situation, about the trailer. If you plan on watching it, by all means, leave it in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.